After I called off my engagement to the Ice Queen, Heiress, I was finally free. It had been over half a year since I'd even kissed a woman. I pocketed the $5 billion she gave me, squeezed another $3 billion out of my biased father with a little blackmail action, and rang up my best friend to hit the clubs. The second we walked in, I ordered a few of the hottest models in the place to join us. Leo just stood there, jaw basically on the floor. Aren't you about to marry into the Sterling family? Chloe Sterling is crazy rigid, old school to the core. Her family's got a terrifying number of rules. If she found out you were somewhere like this, you'd be dead. A lazy smile tugged at my lips. Relax. I already passed the engagement to the illegitimate son. Ryan? What? Leo's eyes nearly popped out. You gave it away? I thought you were into Chloe Sterling. You never shut up about how gorgeous she was. My gaze turned cold and clear. Liking someone and being compatible are two different things. Love's cool and all, but freedom? That's priceless. I'm sure I can find someone who actually fits my soul. I gently lifted the chin of the model beside me. Like these lovely ladies, for instance. The words had barely left my mouth when the whole area went dead silent. From behind me, a cold voice asked, "Who did you say was not bad?" My body locked up. I slowly turned and saw Chloe Sterling standing beside our booth. Her eyes were bloodshot, and she'd just crushed a wine glass in her hand. Seeing her completely lose composure like that? Yeah, that was new. In my past life, I was the wild child of New York's elite, married off to the strict, disciplined Chloe Sterling. She was like a precision instrument, and her demands were insane. I loved clubbing with models, so she blacklisted me from every venue in the city. I loved chasing the African sun and the northern lights in Iceland, so she confiscated my passport. I loved photography and painting, but she called them childish hobbies and locked away my cameras and brushes for good. I was losing my damn mind, forced to memorize her rules and act like some polished gentleman puppet. Then one night at a party, I got into a brawl with some trust fund brats mocking me. When Chloe showed up and saw my bloodied face, she just said calmly, "My apologies. It's my failure to raise him properly. He really doesn't know how to behave." It felt like lightning struck me. I ran out, eyes burning, and got hit by a speeding truck. When I opened my eyes again, I'd been reborn the night before my wedding to Chloe. This time, I wanted nothing to do with her suffocating love. I just wanted to be myself again, free, wild, unchained. I stormed downstairs, found my father, Arthur Vance, and told him I was canceling the engagement. His head snapped up, face twisted with rage. What nonsense is this? An alliance with the Sterlings is once in a lifetime. I sneered. If she's such a prize, let your precious illegitimate son marry her. I'm happy to hand it over. His anger vanished instantly, replaced with delight. You're really letting your brother take your place? Of course. You've always preferred your mistress and her son. After all the money you poured into raising him, this is perfect. He gets to marry into the Sterlings. His face went pale. Don't be crude. He's your brother. But since you insist, I'll go speak to the Sterlings about changing the groom. He practically sprinted out. Watching his fake act was almost funny. I went upstairs, grabbed some explosives in my wallet, and left right after him. First thing, I applied for an expedited visa. Then I called Leo, and we went straight to the hottest club downtown. The pounding music, flashing lights, bodies moving on the dance floor. It felt like breathing after being underwater. I dragged Leo out to dance. We drank, we partied, and I boldly ordered gorgeous models to our table. And then, silence. I turned and saw Chloe in a perfectly tailored black dress, posture ramrod straight. She looked like a queen dropped into chaos. Leo sucked in a breath, shot me a "you're screwed" look, and vanished. My hand was still on the model's chin. Chloe's gaze dropped to it, her eyes dark as a storm. She strode forward, grabbed my wrist, and told the model one word. "Leave." I yanked my hand back. "Chloe, what the hell are you doing?" Her voice was ice. "I should be asking you that. Why are you here?" "Because I felt like it." "What's it to you?" Her eyes darkened. Before I knew it, 2 bodyguards hauled me up and shoved me into a black Rolls-Royce. She stared at me. Word by word. "You are about to marry into the Sterling family. Sterling Code of Conduct Rule Number 1. Home before 10 p.m. nightclubs are forbidden. Go home and write a 10,000-word essay of self-reflection." I almost laughed from anger. "Who's writing your damn essay? Your rules have nothing to do with me. I'm not marrying you." Silence. She turned slowly. What did you say? I swallowed the truth. If I told her the groom had been swapped, wouldn't that just free her? Nah. I'd let her stew for a few days. It was nothing. I was just angry. Sit up straight. I slouched deeper, kicked off my shoes, pressed my bare feet into the expensive cashmere mats, and rolled down the window, letting the wind mess up my hair on purpose. She said nothing. At my mansion, she ordered 10,000 words on my desk tomorrow, then left. Next morning, she showed up before I was even fully awake. Where is the essay? I yawned. Didn't write it. Never will. Her face frosted over. Ethan, when will you learn to listen? This is who I am. Obedient? Not in this lifetime. I don't do control. Before we exploded, Ryan appeared, dressed perfectly, gentle smile in place. Chloe, please don't be upset with my brother. He handed her a neat paper. I wrote the apology for him. She glanced at it, then at me, disappointment deepening. You both grew up in the Vance family. Why can't you be more like your brother? Take Ryan to the reception, I said. You are my fiancée. That word pierced. She wasn't marrying me out of love. It was a contract. If she could choose, she'd pick Ryan in a heartbeat. Fine. I'd grant her wish. At the reception, I wore a flashy, deep red suit. Ryan wore elegant white. For the opening dance, Chloe's eyes flickered between us. She chose Ryan. I slipped out to the terrace. Ryan followed, smug as hell. No matter who it is, even Chloe, they'll always choose the respectable one. Your mother couldn't compete with mine. And now you can't compete with me. I spun and punched him. Hard. You hit me. So what? I'd do more. I'd kill you. I dragged him to the balcony edge and kicked him. He screamed as he fell through the flimsy railing. Chaos erupted below. I felt nothing. As I turned to leave, Chloe grabbed my wrist. Ryan fell. Was that you? What if it was? You're out of control. Apologize. He deserved it. She turned to her bodyguards. Throw him in the ornamental pond. Don't let him out. They tossed me into freezing water. Every time I tried to climb out, they shoved me back in. I screamed until my throat burned. Chloe, let me out. Silence. Just water and cold. My ulcer flared. Pain twisted my stomach. My body curled in. Through fading consciousness, I heard a bodyguard call. Miss Sterling, Mr. Vance doesn't look good. Continue. A pause. Then her cold voice. Continue. Otherwise, he'll never learn. In her eyes, my rebellion, my pain, it meant nothing. She just wanted obedience. Despair drowned me deeper than the water. Tears mixed with the pond. Everything went black. I woke up in a hospital bed. Chloe didn't come until the day I was discharged. I was just chilling on my phone when she barged in. Get your things. I'm taking you home. I didn't even bother looking up. I'm not going back to the Vance estate. Chloe's face went cold, voice all final and bossy. Ethan, don't be difficult. She didn't give me a second to argue. Yanked me off the bed and half-dragged me out like I was some damn suitcase, straight into her car. Back at the Vance mansion, I shook her off and went straight to my room. The second I opened the door, my blood turned to ice. Ryan was sitting at my desk, checking himself out in the mirror while admiring a brilliant sapphire watch. The only thing my mother left me. My voice came out sharp as glass. Who told you could touch my stuff? Put it down. Get out. He jumped a little when he saw me, then recovered fast, that smug grin spreading across his face. He dangled the watch from his fingers. Ethan, I'm telling you, everything in this house is going to be mine eventually. I stepped toward him, eyes dark. Guess you didn't learn your lesson from last time on the balcony. Ryan snorted. I was careless before. You think I'm scared of you now? Before he even finished, his eyes shifted. He grabbed an antique vase from the shelf and smashed it on the floor, then threw himself down into the shards with a dramatic cry. The crash brought Arthur and Elaine running. What happened? Arthur barked, bursting in, face red with rage. Ryan pointed at me instantly. I just wanted to look at his watch, and he pushed me. Ethan, Arthur roared. Before I could say a word, he stepped forward and slapped me hard. The crack echoed in the room. My cheeks swelled instantly, burning. I tilted my head, tasting blood from the cut inside my mouth. And instead of losing it, I laughed. Low. Dangerous. That laugh freaked him out, made him even angrier. What are you laughing at? I lifted my head, eyes cold as ice shards, locking onto Ryan, who was still playing victim. You love acting, huh? Fine. I'll give you a real reason to cry. In one quick move, I grabbed a metal pin from the desk and drove it straight through the back of Ryan's hand, pinning it to the floor. A blood-curdling scream ripped out of him as the pin pierced his flesh, blood pooling around it. "You're insane." Arthur was shaking, pointing to the door. "Get out. I won't have you in this house." He called the staff. They dragged me out and tossed my suitcase onto the street after me. I rubbed my bruised arm like it was nothing, opened my suitcase, pulled out my mother's sapphire watch, and held it tight. I gave that cold, flashy mansion one last look, then turned and walked away without looking back. I hadn't gone far when the sky just opened up. Rain poured down, soaking me to the bone. Shivering, I ducked under a shop awning. Then a familiar black Rolls-Royce pulled up. The window rolled down, Chloe's perfect profile. Her brow furrowed when she saw me, drenched and pathetic. She stepped out, walked up, and ordered, "Get in." I turned away. "Leave me alone." She didn't argue, just grabbed my arm and basically shoved me into the passenger seat. She handed me a dry towel and drove in silence, taking me to her penthouse. She gave me clean clothes, then grabbed a first aid kit and started treating the bruise on my face. "What happened?" she asked quietly. I pressed my lips together and said nothing. 3 days later was Ryan's birthday party. The Vance mansion was decked out like some over-the-top royal gala. As the so-called eldest son, I had to show up. I stood in a corner watching Arthur glow with pride, parading Ryan around. Then he announced he was transferring most of his assets to Ryan. The room buzzed with fake compliments and jealous whispers. My heart turned cold. I'd never had a real birthday party. After my mother died, my father didn't give a damn. My birthdays were just me and a cold cake, making silent wishes alone. When gifts started rolling in, Arthur's property transfer was already insane. But then Chloe brought out a velvet box with a priceless diamond necklace and personally fastened it around Ryan's neck. The crowd gasped. I couldn't watch anymore. I went to the bar and knocked back a whiskey in one shot. That's when a few of Ryan's buddies swaggered over and shoved me on purpose. Well, if it isn't the great Ethan Vance. It's Ryan's birthday. Why the long face? Can't stand seeing him happy. I set down my glass and moved to leave. "Hey, you deaf?" one of them said, grabbing my arm. That was it. I ripped my arm free, grabbed a half-full wine bottle, and glared at them. "I gave you a chance to walk away." Before the words even settled, I smashed the bottle over the closest guy's head. It shattered, wine and blood spraying everywhere. Screams exploded as chaos took over. I moved fast, hitting a few more before Chloe rushed in and clamped onto my wrist like a vice. "Ethan, what the hell are you doing now?" I sneered. "You saw what happened. They insulted me." I returned the favor. Seeing I didn't regret a thing, Chloe ordered her bodyguards, "Take him to the basement. Lock him in the safe room. Don't let him out until I say so." They dragged me off and threw me into a small, dark, windowless room. The second the door shut, darkness swallowed me whole. On the third day, when I felt my mind starting to crack, the door opened. Ryan stood there, clapping his hands as two huge guys in black suits stepped in. "Strap him to the chair," Ryan said. I struggled. "Ryan, you dare? I'll kill you when I get out." They overpowered me easily. Ryan laughed. "Kill me? Chloe would stop you before you even got close. Forgot? She always takes my side." Those words twisted like a knife. No matter what, Chloe always believed him. They strapped me into a cold metal chair, locked my arms and legs down, then attached electrodes to my skin. Ryan grinned like a psycho and pressed a button. A brutal electric current shot through me. Pain exploded through my body, paralysis ripping a scream from my throat as I convulsed. I don't know how long it lasted. When I woke up, I was in a soft bed. Chloe stood over me, frowning. "I only told them to leave you in the safe room for 3 days to cool off. How did you end up like this?" I closed my eyes. Didn't look at her. Didn't speak. She wouldn't believe me anyway. If she wouldn't help me, I'd handle it myself. That night, I hired some people. They found Ryan, who's terrified of heights, stripped him naked and dangled him from the edge of Sterling Tower all night. The next day, Chloe stormed in furious. "Ethan, you're out of control. You hung Ryan from the rooftop all night. Do you know what could have happened? He struggled so much he fell. If there hadn't been a safety net, he'd be dead." I sat by the window, didn't even look at her. She stared at my blank face. "You're staying in this house for the next few days. You're not going anywhere. No more trouble. Do you understand?" I said nothing. Treated her like she didn't exist. She slammed the door. Ryan was brought home the night before the wedding, pale and shaken. Arthur saw me and started yelling, calling me a monster. I didn't even glance at him. The next morning at sunrise, my phone lit up. The message I'd been waiting for. My visa was approved. I grabbed the suitcase I'd already packed and walked out without hesitation. At the bottom of the stairs, I saw Ryan dressed as the groom, surrounded by people. Chloe, in a stunning red gown with an ornate headdress, was being led toward him. She couldn't see his face. Thinking it was me, she took his hand. Her voice, usually ice-cold, was soft. "Don't be nervous. I'm here." I watched from the shadows, calm washing over me. Chloe Sterling, the perfect, disciplined Heiress, deserved a gentle, respectable husband. When she lifted that veil and saw who stood there, I was sure she'd be thrilled. My wedding gift to her. "You're welcome." I walked outside and hailed a cab. "Where to, sir?" the driver asked. I didn't answer. I pulled a small remote from my pocket and looked at the mansion glowing in the morning light. My mother designed that house. After she died, my father, his mistress, and his bastard son turned it into a prison. My eyes went cold. I pressed the red button. Boom. A deafening blast tore through the air as the explosives I'd planted detonated. A massive fireball swallowed the mansion and all my memories. The driver stared at me, terrified. "Sir, was that your house?" It exploded. I calmly fastened my seatbelt. "Yeah." I blew it up. He slammed the gas and sped toward the airport. The burning glow faded behind us. At St. Patrick's Cathedral, all eyes were on Chloe in her red gown and golden headdress. She moved gracefully through the ceremony. The groom beside her trembled. "For once," she said softly, "after today, I'll personally teach you how to be a worthy husband." Ryan, overwhelmed, nearly fainted, trembling harder. Chloe thought it was nerves and smiled faintly. Finally, the officiant boomed. "The groom may now lift the bride's veil." Silence filled the cathedral. Ryan slowly raised his hand and lifted it. Time froze. Chloe looked up and saw Ryan's face. Her smile died. Her pupils shrank like she'd seen something impossible. "What are you doing here?" she forced out, shoving his hand so hard he stumbled backward, crashing onto the red carpet, looking pathetic. She turned sharply. "Where is he?" Her mother rushed over. "Chloe, please continue. We forgot to tell you. The Vances sent word days ago. They switched the groom to Ryan. We thought he was a better match." Just then, her assistant burst in. "It's terrible, Miss Sterling. The Vance mansion exploded half an hour ago. The fire's out of control. The entire estate is rubble." The blood in her veins turned to ice. Ignoring the chaos, she ran out like a woman possessed. Her Rolls-Royce screeched to a stop in front of the smoking ruins. Fire hoses sprayed water. Smoke choked the air. She threw open the door and ran into the wreckage, screaming my name. In what used to be my bedroom, she found a charred jewelry box. With shaking hands, she opened it. Inside were the melted remains of the diamond watch she once gave me. She clutched it tightly. "Miss Sterling, we found something," her assistant said, handing her a tablet. Security footage showed a figure hailing a cab 10 minutes before the explosion. Before getting in, the person looked back at the mansion and pressed something in their hand. A moment later, the mansion blew up in a raging ball of fire and smoke. He was alive. A massive wave of relief hit Chloe, and right behind it came an even darker wave of panic, crashing over her chest. She shot to her feet, her voice steady but laced with pure iron command. "Use every resource we have. Lock down every airport, port, and border crossing. Find out what car he got into and where it went. Get me the passenger manifests for every international flight that left this morning. I don't care if you have to search the entire damn world. Find him." Her assistant didn't even blink, didn't dare hesitate, and rushed out to carry out the orders. Chloe, hair a mess and fury radiating off her like heat, jumped back into her car and sped toward the hotel where Arthur and his family were staying. Inside their hotel suite, Arthur, Elaine, and Ryan were still shaken when Chloe stormed in like an avenging angel. They all flinched. Arthur started stammering. "Chloe, please, let me explain. It was Ethan, that ungrateful brat. He was being stubborn and refused to go through with it. He was the one who suggested letting Ryan take his place. We had no choice. Ryan is much more obedient, more considerate, a much better fit than Ethan." Chloe let out a cold, furious laugh. She stared at Arthur, venom burning in her eyes. What do you think I am? A piece of property your family can trade around however you see fit? My husband, from the very beginning, was always meant to be Ethan, and only Ethan. Now where is he? Ryan shrank back, fear written all over him, but seeing Chloe so frantic over me sparked a jealous rage inside him. He grabbed her arm, pleading, Chloe, what does he have that I don't? I love you more than he does. I'll listen to you. I'll never talk back or make you angry. I'll be the perfect husband you want. Chloe ripped her arm free, sending Ryan stumbling to the floor again. She looked down at him with pure, unfiltered disgust. You are nothing compared to him, and I have only ever loved him. If it weren't for him, you and the entire Vance family would mean nothing to me. Ryan looked like he'd just been struck by lightning, collapsing in a heap on the floor. Without sparing them another glance, Chloe turned and walked out. In her penthouse office at Sterling Corp., Chloe paced like a caged animal, waiting for news. Hours later, her assistant rushed in. Miss Sterling, we found something. Mr. Vance applied for an expedited visa. A week before the incident at the club, a week before the club. Chloe stopped dead, swaying slightly. So his escape wasn't some spur-of-the-moment move. It was planned, premeditated. She suddenly remembered all my strange behavior, all my rebellion in the weeks leading up to the wedding. A tidal wave of regret slammed into her. Chloe used every resource she had, legal and illegal. She turned New York City upside down, then expanded the search nationwide. But it was like I had vanished off the face of the earth, leaving zero trace behind. Anxiety and panic gnawed at her day and night, and she unleashed her fury on the Vance family. Sterling Corp launched a ruthless, systematic attack on their businesses. The already struggling Vance empire crumbled fast under the pressure, teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. No one in the Sterling family could have imagined that when I left, I had taken the soul of their perfect days with me. At a business gala, Chloe stood alone in a corner, a glass of wine in her hand, miles away from the cheerful crowd. Suddenly, she spotted a familiar figure from behind. Her heart seized, and she instinctively called out, Ethan. She shoved through the crowd, stumbling as she rushed forward and grabbed the man's wrist. He turned, confusion written across a completely unfamiliar face. Excuse me. The light in Chloe's eyes died, replaced by deep, crushing despair. She let go and sagged against a cold marble column. A few weeks later, her office felt heavy and silent, like the air before a thunderstorm. Her assistant entered cautiously with a fresh cup of coffee. Miss Sterling, we have a lead. Chloe's head snapped up, her bloodshot eyes locking onto him like a predator. Speak, she rasped. We used some back channels to cross-reference unofficial travel records from the last 3 months. We found a blurred image of someone who looks a lot like Mr. Vance. He was in the transit area of the international airport in Berlin, Germany, 3 days after he disappeared. Chloe froze, fingers trembling. It was a sliver of hope, the last straw for a drowning woman, but it came with the terrifying fear of losing me all over again. His destination. Where was his connecting flight headed? We're still working on it. The transit records in Berlin are highly secure, and he used a small, obscure airline. It's going to take time. There's no time, Chloe cut him off. Get the jet ready. We're flying to Berlin now. 3 hours later, her private jet touched down in Berlin. Before the plane had even fully taxied, the door was open. Chloe didn't wait for the stairs, jumping the last few feet to the tarmac. Ignoring the stunned ground crew, she and her entourage stormed into the terminal like a hurricane. She pushed through crowds like crazy, eyes scanning every face, bumping into people without noticing, leaving a trail of angry complaints behind her. Finally, she saw the gate. Passengers were lining up to board. Her eyes swept the line and locked onto a figure at the very end. A man in a wide-brimmed hat and sunglasses. Even from behind, something deep in her bones told her it was me. Ethan, she cried, launching herself through the crowd like a missile and grabbing my wrist in a death grip. Startled travelers stared as my body went rigid. I slowly turned. Sunglasses hid my eyes, but my jaw was tight, my mouth set in a hard line. I spoke evenly. Miss Sterling, let go of me. Making a scene in public is unseemly. It's against your rules. My cold, sarcastic tone hit her like ice water. But all she knew was she had found me, and she couldn't let me disappear again. She tightened her grip, voice trembling. Ethan, I know I was wrong. It was all my fault. Please, just come back with me. I tried to pull free, but her grip was like a vice. I let out a short, harsh laugh and stopped struggling. Go back. Back to that prison with 3,000 rules. Back to being your puppet? Miss Sterling, have you forgotten? Your new groom is my well-behaved, respectable brother, Ryan. The news of the Sterling-Vance merger is all over the internet. Don't you think it's a little pathetic, clinging to your ex-fiancée in public like this? Passengers were openly staring now, hooked on the drama. Chloe didn't care. No, Ethan, that wedding didn't count. I never acknowledged it. I was wrong. I was so wrong. Please, just come home with me. There will be no more rules. You can do whatever you want. I'll give you anything. Just please don't leave me. The once proud, untouchable queen of New York society was now begging in the middle of a foreign airport, completely humbled. The scene stunned everyone watching. For a moment, I hesitated, seeing her red-rimmed eyes, hearing her desperate apology. Something inside me stirred, but it was swallowed by something colder, stronger. Too late. What was her pain compared to the hell I'd endured? I took a deep breath and pried her fingers off my arm one by one. Your apology is too late, and I don't need it. I stepped back, putting distance between us like she was something filthy. We were over a long time ago. The moment you chose to believe Ryan, the moment you punished me for him again and again, we were done. Don't ever show your face to me again. Your devotion, your regret, it all just makes me sick. The word sick dropped like a final verdict. She stared at me, eyes wide, the last bit of light in them shattering into darkness. Just then, the final boarding call for the flight to Monaco echoed through the terminal. Without another look, I turned, handed my boarding pass to the gate agent, and walked down the jet bridge, back straight, never looking back. Chloe tried to rush after me, but airport security and her own assistant held her back. She struggled like a wounded animal, eyes red and wild, fixed on the jet bridge until the door closed, cutting me from her sight. After a long moment, she shoved her assistant away and staggered upright. Mobilize everything. Find out where he's staying in Monaco. This time, I don't care if you have to drag him back in chains. Bring him back to me. 3 months later, the Monte Carlo casino. Another hand was dealt. I tapped my fingers lightly, signaling a raise. My movements were smooth, calm confidence radiating off me. I flipped my cards. Player wins, the dealer announced flatly, pushing a mountain of chips my way. A murmur rippled through the crowd. That's the 7th hand in a row. He's on fire. Look at him, so calm. He's no amateur. I sipped my champagne, a faint smile playing on my lips. It wasn't luck. It was calculation and psychology. Chloe had forced me to study countless subjects I thought were useless, including advanced probability and behavioral psychology. Turns out, that nerd stuff came in clutch. Just as I was about to place my next bet, a portly middle-aged man in a loud shirt stumbled toward me. His eyes were bloodshot from losing, reeking of alcohol, greed locked on my stack of chips. Hey pal, you're on a roll, he slurred, reaching for my chips. You've got so many. How about sharing the luck? Spot me half. My eyes went ice cold. Before his grimy hand could touch my chips, I moved in one smooth motion. I kicked the back of his knee, and as he fell, I brought my heel down, snapping the bones in his hand. He let out a piercing scream, clutching his shattered hand as he writhed on the floor. The crowd exploded into chaos. I glanced down at him, then calmly cashed in my chips, ready to bounce. Then a lazy female voice sliced through the noise, making a scene in my casino and touching someone under my protection. Charlie, are you still drunk from last night? Or do you just have a death wish? The crowd parted. A woman in a fiery red slip dress strolled through, moving with lazy, arrogant grace. Her exotic face was stunning, almond-shaped eyes sweeping the room with casual indifference until they landed on me. A flicker of open interest lit them up. It was Scarlet Knight. She nudged the whimpering Charlie with the toe of her stiletto. Get out of my sight, and don't let me ever see you near him again. She smirked at me. Next time, it won't be just your hand. Charlie scrambled away like a terrified rat. Scarlet turned to me, eyes locking with mine. She walked right up and casually looped her arm through mine like we were lovers. I tensed, trying to pull away, but her grip, though casual looking, was strong. She leaned close, warm breath brushing my ear. Fresh from New York, huh? You've got sharp claws. I've had my eye on you for a while. She pulled back slightly, then said loud enough for everyone to hear, "That blind fool Chloe Sterling doesn't want you? Fine. I do. From now on, you're with me. In Monaco, in all of Southern Europe, you'll have a life 1,000 times better than you ever had in that miserable city. What do you say?" The blunt declaration stunned everyone. Scarlet Knight, the infamous wild child of the Knight family, was notoriously picky. Rich heirs had thrown themselves at her, and she hadn't given them a second glance. And now she was publicly claiming a complete nobody. I met her gaze, playful on the surface, but deep underneath. I raised an eyebrow, half smiling. "I appreciate the offer, Miss Knight, but do I look like a man who needs a woman to fight his battles for him?" Instead of getting offended, she burst out laughing, tightening her arm around mine. The interest in her eyes shifted into open admiration. "Wild. I like it. You're exactly my type." I stayed in Monaco, and Scarlet, true to her word, chased me with hurricane force. The next day, a limited edition yellow Lamborghini was parked outside my rented apartment. The keys arrived at my door with a card written in flamboyant script. "Something to get around in. If you wreck it, it's on me." A few days later, she went all out, chartered this massive luxury yacht, and threw the kind of party that made half of Monaco's high society show up. And, of course, she dragged me along as the guest of honor. We were standing at the bow as the sun dipped into the Mediterranean, and she gestured to the coastline. "This is your playground now," she said. "Just drop my name." She took me skydiving, deep-sea diving, even sneaking onto a track to race F1 cars. We went full throttle on everything wild and reckless, breaking all the rules. She never wanted me to be proper or restrained. Hell, the more daring I got, the louder she cheered me on. After one skydive, we landed on a soft, sandy beach. Scarlet yanked off her goggles and looked at me, my heart still racing from the adrenaline. She grinned. "Ethan, this is how you're meant to live. Wild and free, no damn rules. This is the real you." I caught my breath, staring at this fiery, vibrant woman. Her unconditional acceptance of me, raw and untamed, started melting the frozen corners of my heart. With her, I didn't have to pretend. I didn't have to hold back. I could finally be the guy I'd buried inside for so long. Scarlet dragged me to a high-stakes underground poker game. My luck was garbage. I lost hand after hand. When I hesitated on a call, she lazily pushed a huge stack of her own chips my way. "Call," she said. "What are you scared of? If you lose, it's on me. If you win, it's yours." We ended up losing more than we won that night, but I'd never felt so alive. Scarlet drove us back, quiet for a while. Then her tone shifted, losing its usual teasing edge. "Ethan, we've actually met before. A long time ago." I turned, surprised. "Years ago at the Belmont Stakes in New York. How old were you? 17? 18? You were with your father and that brother of yours. Your brother tried to set you up to fail, but you ended up winning, beating some arrogant jerk who looked down on you. The way you laughed on that horse, so wild and triumphant. I thought, now there's a guy who knows how to live." I had almost forgotten that day. Never imagined anyone else would remember. She sighed, a touch of regret in her voice. "But back then, you only had eyes for Chloe Sterling. Chloe this, Chloe that. I knew better than to compete, so I stayed away." Her words hit me like a stone in a still pond, sending ripples through me. Someone had seen the real me back when I had almost forgotten who that was. Our bond deepened after that, but the moment that changed everything was a total accident. We were dirt biking in the mountains. The sun was setting, the trail slick with mud. I took a turn too fast. My bike skidded. I went flying toward the edge of a steep ravine. In a split second, Scarlet, right behind me, gunned her engine, slammed her bike into mine, knocking me back onto the path. But the impact sent her flying over the edge. I slammed the brakes and scrambled down. I found her pinned under her bike, bruised, bleeding. But when she saw me, she managed a weak grin. "Don't worry," she rasped. "I'm too stubborn to die." At the hospital, her head bandaged and arm in a cast, she acted like it was nothing. But when she looked at me, her expression turned serious. "Ethan, I know you're wounded. I know what Chloe did to you. I'm not in a hurry. I've got all the time in the world. When you're ready, when you've healed and feel like trying again." She paused, eyes intense, sincere. "Just consider me first, okay? Give me a chance." Her patience, her directness, the way she'd saved me without a second thought, It was like warm sunlight melting the coldest parts of my heart. I looked at her, and for the first time didn't push her away. I just looked down. Something inside me was changing. Maybe I could get used to this life. Then, a few days later, Chloe found me. I was coming home after a night out when she suddenly blocked the entrance. "Ethan, have you had enough of this game? You're coming back with me." Her eyes were bloodshot, burning with pain, anger, obsession. I frowned, my voice ice. "Miss Sterling, let go of me. I don't believe we're acquainted." She snarled, grabbing me again. Just then, another hand clamped down on hers. Scarlett. Lazy, unconcerned, but her eyes sharp as knives. "Miss Sterling, putting your hands on another woman's boyfriend in public? Not a good look. You can't force someone to love you. Even a kid knows that." With a swift twist, she made Chloe release me and pulled me to her side. Chloe's eyes narrowed, pupils shrinking with rage. "Scarlet Knight," she spat, venom dripping from every word. "Let go of him. You, a party girl who goes through men faster than clothes, don't touch him or I'll destroy you." Scarlet laughed, cold and disdainful. "I may be a lot of things, Miss Sterling, but I've never made my man write a 10,000-word apology. I've never locked him in a dark room for days. And I sure as hell never stood by while he nearly drowned." Color drained from Chloe's face. She swayed as if struck. Scarlet stepped closer, eyes like daggers. "Chloe," she said, low and sharp, "you call that love?" Chloe's lips trembled. She lunged to pull me away. Scarlet's patience snapped. The two women went at it right there on the street. Onlookers scrambled. Chloe broke free and tried grabbing me again. "You're coming with me." Scarlet was held back by her bodyguards. She screamed, "Chloe, let him go." But Chloe didn't care. She shoved me into a black sedan. By the time Scarlet broke free, all she saw were tail lights. She kicked a trash can, furious, and pulled out her phone, calm but dangerous. "Give me the flight plan for Chloe Sterling's private jet. Find out where she's taking him. Get my men ready. We're getting him back." Chloe's jet landed at a secluded estate outside New York. I didn't speak, didn't resist, just cold, distant eyes on her. My stare cut her like ice. She tried to make amends. She cooked. She never cooked before. I didn't even look at it. Her hope started to fade. She knelt, sobbing, pleading, "Please eat something. I know I was wrong. There will be no more rules. Just don't leave me. Don't look at me like that. I can't bear it. Why can't you forgive me?" I finally looked at her, calm, ice beneath the surface. "Chloe, you're pathetic." She flinched like I'd hit her. "Each time," I said flatly. "You had the chance to choose me and never did. You threw me in freezing water, locked me in dark rooms, let Ryan torture me, and then you talk about love? How am I supposed to believe that?" Color drained from her face. She staggered, trying to escape, knocking over my suitcase. It spilled open. She found a hidden medical file, deep second-degree burns, infection, long-term therapy, PTSD. She slammed her fist into the wall, blood flying, but didn't feel it. Scrambling back, she grabbed me. "I'm sorry. Hit me. Kill me. Do whatever you want. Just forgive me." I looked down at her, eyes cold. "I accept your apology, but I will never forgive you." A crash, an alarm blared outside. The door burst open. Scarlet stood there, bruised, sharp-eyed, flanked by her men. She took my hand. "You okay? Let's go." I didn't hesitate. Chloe lunged to stop me. I paused, looked back, calm. "Chloe, seeing you like this, in so much pain, karma. Don't ever come looking for me again." I disappeared with Scarlet. Totally gone. Chloe's search became frantic. A month later, at New York's annual business summit, the elite were stunned. Chloe appeared. Wild silver-gray hair, rebellious red blouse, black miniskirt, smoky eyes, completely absurd next to her corporate minions. No greetings. She walked straight to the podium. "Sterling Corp will undergo complete restructuring. And I am abolishing the Sterling family's century-old code of conduct. From now on, the rules, my rules, will be whatever Ethan Vance decides." She dropped the mic and walked off. Her chaotic, messy way of sending me a message. Willing to burn her whole world for me. After Scarlet rescued me, we went to a secluded villa in the south of France. No wild parties, no casinos. Breakfast in a flowered garden, reading under a grape arbor, long drives down quiet roads. She never mentioned Chloe. She just quietly, patiently chased away the shadows. When I had nightmares, she'd sit outside my room, strumming a guitar, playing soft melodies until I fell asleep. With her next to me, I slowly started smiling again. No fake stuff, real smiles. One day Scarlett set up another skydiving trip for us. Yeah, skydiving again. I stood at the open door of the plane, staring down at the whole world laid out beneath my feet. I took a deep breath. I was nervous as hell, but even more than that, I was hyped. Scarlett squeezed my hand and yelled over the roaring wind. Scared? I shook my head. No. She grinned, sunlight hitting her face, smile bright enough to mess with my heartbeat. Ethan, I know you're hurt. I know what she did to you. The teasing spark in her eyes disappeared, replaced by something raw. Real. I'm not gonna throw a bunch of empty promises at you. I just need one thing. Will you give me a chance? She tightened her grip on my hand. Let me take care of you. Let me spend the rest of my life fixing the damage Chloe left behind. If the sky falls, I'll hold it up for you. If you want to cause chaos, I'll clear the damn path. I've never been this serious about anyone. Ethan, it's you. It's always been you. Her confession wasn't polished. It wasn't pretty. It was blunt, almost rough around the edges, but it hit me like pure sunlight breaking into the coldest, darkest corner of my chest. I looked into her eyes and saw nothing but honest love. Something inside me that had been wound tight for years finally snapped loose. I smiled. Slow. Real. I squeezed her hand back and shouted over the wind. Yes. One word. Crystal clear. Scarlett froze for a split second, then pure joy crashed over her. She wrapped her arms around me and kissed me hard. The instructor behind us laughed and cleared his throat. She pulled back, but never let go of my hand. We locked eyes, smiled. Then we jumped. My stomach dropped, wind screaming in my ears, the wild rush of free fall. But I wasn't scared. I spread my arms wide, laughing like a madman, looking at the woman beside me, my heart full of something I hadn't felt in forever. Hope. New York. Sterling Corporation penthouse office. Dead silent. Chloe slumped in her oversized chair, empty liquor bottles scattered around her feet. She was scarily thin. Her phone screen glowed in the dark. A blurry but clear paparazzi shot. Me at a cafe in the south of France, laughing, feeding Scarlett ice cream, while she looked at me like I was her whole world. A broken cough. Blood sprayed from Chloe's mouth, splattering the screen and the expensive carpet. She coughed violently, but she still wouldn't quit. She flew to France. Stood outside our villa gates in pouring rain, burning up with fever. Refused to leave until she collapsed face first into muddy water. Right before she blacked out, she thought she saw a curtain move upstairs. She woke in a strange room. Scarlett leaned in the doorway, watching her coldly. You really don't know when to quit, do you, Chloe? Chloe struggled to sit up. Her voice was barely there. Ethan. Scarlett cut her off. He doesn't want to see you. He asked me to pass a message. Chloe held her breath. Scarlett said it slow. Clear. Stop disturbing my happiness. Each word hit like ice through the heart. The last tiny thread of hope inside her shattered. She tried to speak. Nothing came out. Tears slid down her face in silence. Like an empty doll, she let Scarlett's men put her on a plane home. But that wasn't the end. I wasn't the weak kid anymore. Not even close. With Scarlett backing me, I set the Vance family's downfall in motion. I anonymously sent mountains of undeniable proof, Arthur's tax evasion, embezzlement, bribery, to the Attorney General. He was arrested in his office. Vance Corporation stock crashed. Overnight bankruptcy. In prison, I stood across the glass from Arthur. His hair completely white. He slammed his hands against the glass. Ethan, I'm your father. How could you do this? You'll pay for this. I picked up the receiver, a cold smile on my face. Pay for it. When you brought Elaine into our home. When you let Ryan hurt me again and again. When you sold me off like I was property for your own gain. Did you think about consequences then? This is you paying. Hope you enjoy the long thinking time. Elaine lost her mind after the collapse. Full breakdown. Psychiatric hospital. Ryan lost everything. Crawled to Chloe's new home, kneeling at her gate, crying like a wreck. Please help my father. Help our family. You're the only one who can save us. The gate opened. Chloe looked down at him. Blank face. No emotion. Later Ryan found me. Ethan, you bastard. You'll die for this. I curse you. I watched him like he was a frantic bug. Leaned close to his ear. You know why I let you live this long? His eyes went wide. Because I wanted you alive. Alive to watch everything you loved. Your family, your money, Your pride, that pathetic excuse for love, turned to dust. Watching you squirm like a sewer rat. Way more satisfying than killing you. That broke him. He ran off screaming and laughing. Soon there was a madman roaming New York streets. At our villa, I watched the sunset, peace settling in my chest. Scarlett wrapped her arms around me. We traveled, lived, loved. We thought it was over. We were wrong. On a small Caribbean island, driving back from a dive, Vance swerved out and blocked us. Masked men jumped out, armed. Target me. Scarlett fought like hell, trying to protect me. But there were too many. She was hurt. Overpowered. Let him go, she screamed. Ryan stepped out. Filthy. Wild eyes. Gun in hand. Laughing like he'd lost his damn mind. Ethan, I finally got you. Now you're paying 100 times over. A black SUV roared in from behind, smashing through the vans. Chloe jumped out. She'd been following me secretly, meant to just watch from afar. Saw Ryan. Followed him. Let him go, she screamed. Ryan laughed harder. Perfect. I'll send you all to hell together. Chloe stepped forward. Take me. Let him go. Ryan sneered. I want him to suffer. I want you to watch. They beat Scarlett. Then Chloe. Clubs crashing down. Ryan pressed the gun to my head. Get on your knees and beg. Chloe dropped to her knees instantly. Concrete cracking against bone. The proud queen of New York, Ryan shrieked. Look at you now. They beat her. Blood pouring. But she stayed between them and me. Run. I screamed, helpless. Scarlett lunged at Ryan. Gunshot. In that impossible split second, Chloe threw herself over me. The bullet hit her back. Blood soaked my shirt. Time froze. She looked at me. Relief in her eyes. Regret. Endless love. She tried to touch my face. Her hand fell. Ethan, I'm sorry. This time I protected you. Live a good life with Scarlett. Her head fell to the side. Sirens. Hospital. 12 hours outside the operating room. She survived. But barely. 2 weeks in a coma. When she woke up, she saw me beside her. Tired. Quiet. Our eyes met. There was concern. Relief. But mostly peace. No love. No hate. Just finished. She saw Scarlett's hand on my shoulder. The last bit of hope inside her died. 3 months later, she walked with a cane. Left leg permanently damaged. She never contacted me again. Sold everything. One foggy morning, small bag in hand, she boarded a plane to a Swiss clinic. Final chapter closed. My life began for real. Scarlett and I saw the northern lights in Norway. Soaked in Iceland's blue lagoon. Chased the Great Migration in the Serengeti. Explored the Amazon. I smiled more. Real smiles. Freedom radiated off me. I was finally myself. In an old chateau in the south of France, surrounded by lavender fields, Scarlett booked the entire estate. Said it was just a small party. That night we walked through the lavender. At the center stood a glass conservatory glowing with roses and fairy lights. She stopped. Turned to me. Serious. Nervous. She cleared her throat and pulled a small velvet box from her pocket. Inside was a unique, beautifully designed ring. Ethan, she said, her voice tight with nerves but steady as hell. I know I've got a reputation. I know I've been wild, reckless. She let out a small, self-mocking laugh, but her eyes? Locked in, intense. But after I met you, I realized all those years I wasn't really living. I just want to be with you. I want to be wild and reckless with you. To do all the crazy stuff we haven't done yet. I love you, not because I want to lock you up and turn you into some shiny, perfect trophy. Not because I want you following a bunch of stupid rules. She took a deep breath. I love you exactly the way you are. I love your wildness, your freedom. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, protecting you, making sure you stay this happy, this free. Then she held up the ring, hope and nerves flickering in her eyes. Will you marry me? Let me take care of you for the rest of our lives. No flowery lines. No fake promises. Just a blunt, straight-up, Scarlett proposal. And damn, it hit me harder than any polished speech ever could. I looked at this woman who embraced every messy, complicated part of me, who offered me a whole world of freedom, and my eyes burned. A huge, stupidly happy grin spread across my face. I held out my hand and nodded, my voice steady and strong. Yes, I will. Scarlett froze for a second, then let out a full-on whoop of pure joy. She fumbled with the ring before finally sliding it onto my finger. Perfect fit. She started jumping up and down like a little kid, shouting across the lavender fields. Yes. I'm finally marrying you." I pulled her into my arms, laughing so hard tears streamed down my face. The setting sun wrapped us in warm golden light. We got married on a private island in the Mediterranean. No press, just our closest friends. I wore a simple white suit. Scarlett wore a white satin mermaid gown and looked absolutely breathtaking. When the officiant asked for my vows, I looked into her eyes and said clearly, firmly, "I do." When it was Scarlett's turn, she grinned and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "I do. I'll marry this man who makes me want to be better. From now on, he can be as wild and reckless as he wants, and I'll be right there backing him up." The crowd burst into laughter and applause. The reception? Total madness, in the best way. A wild beach party. Scarlett and I danced for hours, from waltzes to sambas, until she suddenly picked me up and spun me around in the sand, our laughter echoing over the water while fireworks exploded above us. She pulled me close and whispered in my ear, "A little better than that disaster of a wedding in New York, huh?" I leaned into her, watching the sky light up, my heart full and calm for the first time in forever. In that moment, I knew I'd finally left the darkness behind and stepped into something bright and real. Married life was sweet and never boring. Scarlett kept her word. She gave me all the freedom and support I could ever ask for. We made our home in France, but we were always traveling. I picked up photography again, and my bold, vibrant style started getting published in magazines. I even had my own solo exhibition, rave reviews and all. One night, after watching a documentary about raising kids, I turned to Scarlett and said quietly, "Scarlett, I don't think I want to have kids." I said it carefully. I knew she loved me, but in families like hers, producing an heir was everything. She was in the middle of a video game and didn't even look up. "Okay," she said. "Then we won't." I was stunned. "You don't mind? What about your family?" She dropped the controller and threw herself into my arms. "Mind what? I married you because I love you, not because I need a personal incubator. And my family can go to hell. I marry who I want. Whether we have kids or not is none of their damn business. As long as you're happy, that's what matters to me." Her support was absolute. No conditions. No pressure. I felt overwhelmed with love and gratitude and leaned in to kiss her. She blinked in surprise, then kissed me back deeply. When she finally pulled away, a little breathless, she pressed her forehead to mine. "Besides," she murmured, "I'm perfectly happy with it just being the two of us." With Scarlett's unwavering support, my career exploded. I kept working in photography and painting, and with my growing influence and the Knight family's resources, I started a foundation for underprivileged kids. My life felt fuller, brighter, more alive than I'd ever imagined. I was finally becoming who I was meant to be. 10 years flew by. We were in Vienna at a classical music gala. I was older now, calmer, more grounded. Scarlett was still vibrant, but with a quiet confidence that made her even more powerful. After all these years, we were still a striking couple. During intermission, I stepped away to use the restroom. Scarlett got pulled into a conversation with an old friend, a famous composer. As I walked down the plush carpeted hallway and turned a corner, I stopped cold. A woman in a wheelchair, pushed by a nurse. Simple dark coat, blanket over her lap, hair almost completely white, eyes still deep, but carrying a tired, peaceful calm. "Chloe." I stopped. She saw me too. Our eyes met for a brief second. No drama. No spark. My heart didn't move. It felt like seeing someone you might have known in another lifetime. For a split second, something flickered across her face. Then it faded, replaced with quiet acceptance, maybe even a silent blessing. The corner of her mouth twitched like she was trying to smile, but couldn't quite pull it off. She gave me a slow nod. I looked away and kept walking. No backward glance. Her wheelchair rolled in the opposite direction. 2 lines that crossed once, now stretching into infinity, never meeting again. Scarlett came over and slipped her arm around my waist. "See someone you know?" I shook my head and took her arm. "No, just a stranger. Let's go back. It's about to start." A few years later, in Paris, at the ceremony for the world's most prestigious photography prize, I won the grand prize for a documentary series. I stood in the spotlight and accepted the heavy award calmly. The audience was packed with top artists, celebrities, press. I gave my speech, first in fluent French, then in English, thanking the judges and committee. Then I paused. My eyes found the woman in the front row looking at me with so much pride, it almost undid me. I switched back to English, my voice steady but thick with emotion. There is one person I have to thank above all others. Thank you for being a brilliant, stubborn, beautiful light in the darkest time of my life. Thank you for never trying to change me, never trying to smooth out my rough edges, but for protecting them, celebrating them, and giving me the freedom to finally be myself. Wild, reckless, and happier than I ever thought possible. The camera cut to Scarlett. She looked surprised for a second, then broke into a huge, proud grin. She gave the camera a playful wink, and the room exploded in laughter and applause. I smiled and lifted the award. This is for you too, Scarlett. Thank you, my love. The after-party went on forever. When we finally got back to our hotel suite, Scarlett gently brushed off the last of the well-wishers. I dropped onto the sofa by the window, exhausted, staring at the lights of Paris. The award sat forgotten on the table. Scarlett brought me a glass of water and curled into my arms. She didn't say anything, just held me. After a long, easy silence, she murmured, "You really made me proud tonight, husband." I smiled, warmth spreading through me, mixed with nostalgia. All those years ago at Belmont, when I first saw you, she continued, I thought, there's a man who's like a fire that'll never burn out. So wild, so bright. She tightened her arms around me. When I heard you were with Chloe, I was so disappointed. I thought, what a waste, to let a spirit like that get smothered by stupid rules. She laughed softly. Then when I saw you in Monaco, I knew it was my shot. You were so cold, so angry, but the fire was still there underneath it all. I knew I had to have you. I knew I'd spend my life protecting that fire and never let anyone snuff it out again. She tilted her head and kissed me, long, slow, gentle. Then she rested her forehead against mine and looked into my eyes. Ethan, she said softly, pure sincerity in her voice, being with you is the best thing that's ever happened to me. I'll spend the rest of my life protecting you, making sure you stay this wild, this free, this happy. I smiled and laced my fingers through hers. Thank you, I said, for letting me be Ethan. The real, brilliant, dazzling Ethan.